We are now streaming, so.
Okay. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today for the District Library Book Objection Committee meeting. I'm Dawn Sapp, Associate Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, and I will be facilitating today's meeting. The purpose of today's meeting is to review an objection to the book titled Neanderthal Opens the Door to the Universe by Preston Norton. Our committee members include, of course, myself as the chair of the committee, Tracy Hemingway, District Secondary Director, Chris Phelps, Principal, Leanna Teuscher, Media Specialist, Stacey Giangaspero, Teacher, Laura Marshall, Parent, Jocelyn Basemeyer, Parent, Sydney Cedric, Community Member, and Amanda Bonner, Community Member. Today's meeting will result in a recommendation that will be forwarded to Mr. Forson, St. Johns County School District Superintendent. This committee meeting is public record and therefore subject to sunshine law. It is being live streamed for public viewing. Committee members are not required to have their camera on during the meeting. We are committed to civility and decorum. Please assist us in maintaining a constructive meeting environment by remaining respectful of each participant during the meeting and afterwards. Additional discussion of the objecting party or committee members outside of this meeting is discouraged. Disparaging comments are contrary to the district expectations regarding character and civility. Committee members have received several resources in advance of this meeting. Those resources include the objecting party's request for reconsideration, a copy of the book, Florida statutes, Florida Department of Education training slides, St. Johns County School Board rules, St. Johns County School District guidance for library books, both the high school and middle school guides, the Library Bill of Rights, and a school library media materials evaluation checklist. The process for today is as follows. First, the objecting party will have the opportunity to address the committee. They will provide any information they deem compelling or new regarding their request. Next, the committee will have a discussion utilizing the school library media material evaluation checklist. And finally, the committee will determine a recommendation for Superintendent Forson. There are two options for the recommendation. First option being to retain the book in grade blank and up. For example, we might decide we want to retain the book in grade 9 and up. Or the second option is to remove the book from all St. Johns County School District libraries. For our meeting today, both agreeable and opposing viewpoints are welcome, and we look forward to attaining consensus. Are there any questions? Hearing none, let us begin. Lisa McGarity is the objecting party for Neanderthal Opens the Door to the Universe. She will not be addressing the committee. Therefore, committee members, we will now begin our discussion utilizing the school library media material evaluation checklist. I will read each question or statement from the review checklist, and each committee member will have the opportunity to share their response. Comments will be summarized to provide an overall committee response for each question. Please remember to raise your hand when you are ready to respond. Keep in mind that our final task on the form is to make a recommendation to Superintendent Forson. And there will be two options: retain the book in grade blank and up, or remove the book from all St. Johns County School District libraries. Just please keep in mind again that both agreeable and opposing viewpoints are welcome, and we look forward to attaining consensus. Let's begin. Question 1, please list or attach the professional and/or crowdsourced reviews. Are the reviews favorable or unfavorable? Is there anyone who would like to provide a response? Okay, Stacy, go ahead.
I looked over the reviews and it looks like it was a mixture of positive and negative reviews. Most of them acknowledged the presence of language that was strong. and the use of explicatives. But for the most part, I found a pretty much 50-50 review as far as the positive and negatives of the book.
Miss Epp, you are muted.
I apologize. So Stacy, I believe you've completed your comments. You can put your hand down, and then Laura, you may go ahead.
Hey, I don't really have a whole lot to add other than that's pretty much what I found too.
Okay. So, are there, can we, if we feel like that covers the feelings of the committee, if you want to put a green check next to your name, acknowledging that that's what you found, and is there anyone who has anything additional to add? So I see Laura, Tracy.
My hand is up.
Oh, Cindy, go ahead, Cindy.
Yeah, everything I found was I looked on the 3 or 4 that were referenced in the information you gave us. I also looked on Goodreads and other sources of information, and everything I found pretty much was a favorable response to the book, that it was a strong purchase for all libraries serving older teens, that it would be a good placement for obviously not certain grade levels, but for high school. Everything that I read was favorable.
Okay. Thank you, Cindy. Okay, so if I'm going to go ahead and give a summary, and then I would like for, if I've captured the summary well, then if everyone can give a great green check for number 1, and if you have anything to add, just raise your hand and we'll try to make sure we capture it. So our summary will be that our review of professional source reviews gave both a mixture of both positive and negative reviews. Strong language was acknowledged, but for the most part, there was a favorable response that this is a good title for teens. Okay, so if you guys can use your response, and I either need a green check or a hand up so we can make sure we've captured everything. Okay, Laura, did you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I want to clarify that.
Okay, great.
Yes, there were definitely favorable responses, but I didn't necessarily find them to be all favorable for them to be read by high schoolers. There were lots of favorable responses to the book. It's a good book, but not necessarily. I think I go back definitely to that mixture of is this a good book for high school students? Yeah,
mixed reviews on whether it may be good for high school age students. Okay. Okay, and then, so if we add, I'm reading what we have. Our review of professional source reviews gave a mixture of positive and negative reviews. Strong language was acknowledged, and there were mixed reviews on the appropriateness for high school students. Okay, now I'm seeing green. Amanda, did you have anything? Oh, I see Amanda. Okay. All right, so I think we're good for number 1. So we're going to go ahead and move to question 2. Question 2, so everybody can clear your green checks. That would be great. Will students benefit from reading or listening to this book? Yeah. Would anyone like to provide a response? So Amanda is, I think her answer is she checked no. How about if we give a red X if you answered no, and a green check if you thought yes, and that way I can capture how many no's and yeses. I'm still waiting on a few people to place their checks. Okay. So it looks like we have the majority feel like it is, yes, it is, it could be a benefit, but we do have also no. Okay, explanation. Would anyone like to provide an explanation? You can change your check to a hand raise if you would like to provide an explanation. Laura?
Hi, that's a very black and white question, in my opinion. Again, this was a really good book. And there were good takeaways, I think, in this book for teenagers. But overall, and I would love to hear other people's thoughts. I don't know that I would want my 14-year-old, I don't know that my 14-year-old would benefit from reading this book in the same way that maybe my 18-year-old would benefit from reading this book. So I don't know, I didn't answer yes or no to that because it's such a black and white question. I mean, there is this book doesn't just have strong language, it has S&M, it has suicide, it has abuse at home, it has sex. I mean, it covers the gamut of everything. Well, obviously not everything, but close to everything. And I don't know that that's just such a black and white answer that yes, it's such a benefit to the kids.
Okay.
Overall.
Thank you, Laura. I think Stacy was indicating she agrees with your sentiments. Cindy, did you have something to add?
Sure. Yeah, I just was going to say that I found it a benefit for students that choose to read that book and that they're probably looking for maybe, or not looking for, but maybe there are children who maybe needs that book, that they can relate to it. There are children who are having sex in high school. There are children who are abused. There are children who are overweight and who have problems with body image and things. And if that book would help one student, then I feel like it's a benefit for students to read. And I think for me, not having the book and then possibly not reaching that person, that student that needs it, then we're doing a disservice to that student. So those are my thoughts. And I feel like there's already processes in place where if you didn't want your student to read this book, then that would be a choice for you to opt out. But I think for the majority of students, I would think that it's not harmful reading this book. That's my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Chris, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I just thought, I concur with what those ladies are saying. I thought it was a good message in that different groups of kids were working together to achieve something positive. I know it's not the language is the best, but what they were trying, different groups of kids were working together, and it wasn't, from different groups that exist on campus, and they are achieving a goal together, so they're working together to overcome some things. So that was what I thought was I checked yes, so that's why I checked yes.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Jocelyn.
I'm going to agree that I would put this book into school. I actually let my highly gifted middle schooler read it, who reads all sorts of things. And she picked up the book right away and read it front to back, no big deal. Had some questions, which was good for conversation within the household. And it did have a lot of language, but I would not tell her not to read it for other things. And I thought it was thought provoking and it was conversation provoking So I would recommend it.
Okay. Stacy.
Yeah, correction before, I think I accidentally hit the wrong icon and I hit clap instead of raise my hand. So
Oh,
self-disclosure there.
Got it.
But anyway, now I'll say what I wanted to say.
Okay.
Self-disclosure here, I'm an English teacher, so I look at things through a critical lens. I've read this book twice. I read it years ago when it was first on the young teen reads list, and I loved the book then. I really liked it. But then I was asked to be on this committee, so I read it again, but I was looking at it through a different lens through the use of all these different focus points that we're looking at with regards to this committee. And I'll be honest, I didn't feel like the use of language and the references to sex and all that stuff detracted from the overall holistic message of the book. I still found it to be a really good book because I'm looking at it as what is the message of the book. And like Chris said earlier, I felt that the message trumped everything else in the book.
Okay, thank you, Stacy. Okay, I don't see any other hands raised. So I'm going to go ahead and give a summary. So we had 5 yeses and 2 nos on this book. As far as the comments, there is an acknowledgement that there is some strong language throughout the book, but I think the overall opinion is that it would not be harmful to students, and that there are some students who would select this book and would benefit. And the overall message of the book about kids working together for a common goal had an impact on many of you voting yes. You think this book is a good book. So I have my secretaries in the room capturing the summary. As soon as she gets it up on the screen, I'll read it to you again. But Tracy, did you have anything else to add?
I did. I just wanted to add also the characters' like ability to be very resilient and to overcome like many difficult situations throughout the book. I think our students could relate to.
Okay. Okay, that's good. So what we have right now is the majority think that yes, students will benefit, 5-2. There was acknowledgement of strong language, but the overall opinion is that it would not be harmful to students. And the overall message of kids working together for a common goal trumps the language. I think we could maybe add in there that the book speaks to resiliency. Okay. Does anyone have anything else on number 2? Okay, we're going to move on to question number 3. Does this book offer an opportunity to understand different cultures and or minority groups? So if we want to go ahead in the chat, if you believe that it is yes, you can indicate with a green check. If you believe no, you can indicate with a red X. Okay. Let's see. I think we have most of the group captured.
Yeah, there's 7 yeses.
Okay. So it looks like this one is a yes, that we do think it provides an opportunity to understand different cultures or minority groups. Would anyone like to offer an explanation? Okay, Tracy, go ahead.
I just felt like it offered perspective of different backgrounds of students. You had rich students in the book, you had poor students in the book, and the resiliency of both of those groups and the struggles that they both had to work through, I think was represented.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything they would like to add? So our summary, we have that this book offered perspectives of different backgrounds of students, specifically affluent or rich and poor. Okay, Cindy? You have something to add?
Yeah, I was just going to say that it offered to me also, I guess, relatability for the LGBTQ community of students, as well as, it's not a minority group, but kids that are bullied or have self-image issues.
Okay. So it also offered relatability to LGBTQ groups. And students, sorry, one more time, Cindy, students who,
I guess just feel bullied or have, I guess, self-image issues as
Yeah.
well.
who have self-image with self-image issues. Okay, we got that. So this book offered perspectives of different backgrounds of students, specifically rich and poor. Offered perspective. Oh, sorry, offered relatability. Sorry, relatability to LGBTQ groups and students with self-image issues. Okay, Stacy, do you have something to add?
Yeah, just to kind of add up, I think what we're all saying here is it really hit on kids who are marginalized in high school. Anyone who may be a little bit different from the quote unquote kid that's just like everybody else in high school.
Okay.
Whether it be someone who's, you know, depending on their sexual orientation or whatever, but as a result of that marginalization, they're bullied. And how that bullying is dealt with. So.
Okay. So, and then if you could just add one sentence, marginalized students in underrepresented groups. Students who are a little bit different. Okay. All right, I think we got that. Okay, thank you for that discussion. Okay, our next question is for nonfiction only, so we're not going to address question number 4. Okay, so for question number 5, this is just a yes or no. Is the information in this book current and accurate as far as you are aware? So if you could, we'll click a green check for yes and a red X for no. Okay, so we have all yeses for that one. Okay, question number 6. So if everybody can clear your check marks. Thank you. Question number 6. Does this work have literary merit? Yes, green check, no, red X. Okay. Is there any just, well, this one doesn't really have a box for discussion, but is there any comment that anybody'd like to make on this one? It's like the majority said yes, but we did have a no. Okay, if we can clear that. Question number 7. This book is most suitable for which grades? So let's just start at the top. If you believe it is suitable for grades 9 through 12, if you can put a green check. If you do not think so, put a red X. So I'm seeing 6 green checks and 2 red X's for 9 through 12. Okay, let's go ahead and get a vote for grades 6 through 8. If everyone can clear their boxes. If you believe it is appropriate for middle grades 6 through 8, you would do a green check. If you don't believe it's appropriate for middle grades, you would do a red X. Okay, no one thinks it's appropriate for 6 through 8. Okay, so I think we've landed on, we're really discussing this as a possible book for grades 9 through 12. Okay, question number 8. Are the illustrations appropriate for students in the grade levels selected above? So we'll do a green check for yes, a red X for no, and I believe that the only illustrations are really the cover art. So illustrations appropriate for grades 9 through 12. Okay, so I'm seeing everyone's okay with the illustrations. Okay, question number 9. This is in reference to our St. Johns County School District book guidance. So you guys can clear your check marks at this point. So we would be looking at the book guidance for high school grades. So if you have your book guidance and you took a look at it and you looked at what's appropriate for high school, is there any content in the book that would not be appropriate for grades 9 through 12 according to the guidance for St. Johns County library books? And if you marked any of the boxes, if you could raise your hand and just share some of the boxes that you marked, and then we can work towards maybe, well, I guess I could do it this way. I apologize. If you marked profanity, that you believe that it is not appropriate according to our guide in reference to profanity, anyone who thinks it was not, can you give me a red X? Because this particular section is really about what's not appropriate, so we'll use the red X for this one. Profanity. Okay, I see 1 for profanity. Crude language. Is there anyone else who thinks that the crude language was pervasive and inappropriate for grades 9 through 12? Okay.
I have my hand up.
Laura, yes, go ahead, Laura. I'm sorry.
If I'm reading this correctly, and maybe I'm not,
Okay.
but it says the guidance for high school library, no explicit graphic descriptions of sexual acts, etc. All they're asking here is if these things are in the book.
We are asking if you believe that the content in this book is not appropriate in reference to our
Based on
guide.
that list.
Right. And the guide, just, the guide, it's a guide. And we know that, kind of depends, there's some judgment involved in making decisions about the guide. But for this committee, it's about your belief with reference to this guide. So
I would like to say I recognize that I am in the minority here. And that's okay.
mhm.
Because it really was a great book. Like I read it front to back in 24 hours. It was so good. But I stand by what I said. I do think that this book could be very difficult for certain children. I think that that there were parts of it that that could impact children who are, and I do use the word children because I think we forget how young 14 and 15-year-olds are. You know, if you are a kid that is at home being abused by your dad, that book reads a very different way than it would to someone who came from a home where they didn't experience that. I just question that. I hope that everybody is looking at this from a perspective of someone who's actually in any of those situations. I mean, the suicide was graphic. They described it. And if you have not experienced those things, but you're a child who has, this book will just hit differently. And I really think that, and I think that should be taken into consideration, not because I don't think it's a fantastic book. I suggested my 21-year-old read it, but she's 21. So, and I don't know if there's a way to separate it versus my parents said I can't versus, you know, it's acceptable for 11th and 12th graders or acceptable for just seniors versus the whole high school. Anyway, that's my thought.
Okay. Are there any other comments regarding the guide? Amanda?
I just want to say that I fully agree with everything that Laura has said so far on all of this. The book does go against the guide specifically for St. Johns County high schools. I've noted several spots in my notes here where it goes directly against it.
Okay. Do you want to give me some examples, or I'm just trying to make sure that I capture. Are you talking about the profanity aspect? Or
Yes, I mean that's one
Okay.
aspect because it says no F-bombs. There's many throughout the whole book. There's also blasphemy. There's mention of masturbation right here, number 2, where it says no explicit descriptions of aroused sexual organs, like raging boner was one of them. Then you have the masturbation and BDSM, and it's just really graphic for children, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments regarding reference to our high school library book guides? Laura, your hand's up, but did you?
Jocelyn's was up first, but
Okay,
mine
go
was
ahead.
up just to follow up on Amanda, but I can go
Okay,
after.
go ahead, Jocelyn.
I'm just wondering, this is in the library, not a mandatory reading book. It's just in our school. It's in the public or in the school library.
That's correct. This would be a self-select title.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Laura.
I just wanted to follow up on what Amanda said. When you asked for specifics, there is a place where one of the characters is there's S&M. They describe it. It's a video that the kids choose not to use. There is a point in the book where they graphically describe the blood and the Shane, one of the characters, shooting himself in the face. Yeah, they do drop all of these. There's a lot of cussing, but really it's not, and it's unnecessary, but really that's not even it. It's just, it's very graphic when they talk about Cliff when he's being hit by his father. It's described in detail, and just I think there's a lot of emotions there, and we're underestimating how young these kids really are. But there, I mean, we can look them all. I mean, I'm sure I could find more if you need them, but there's lots of them.
Okay. So in my notes, I have there's a concern with the graphic nature of violence, specifically around a suicide, shooting in the face, profanity is prevalent. That the suggestion was made that this might be most appropriate for grades 11 and up. Some concern for our younger high school students, and also a clarification that this is a self-select book. Cindy, do you have something to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify because in this it asks, in number 9, it just asks if there is inappropriate content. But are we not supposed to look at this like, because there are many, many books that have curse words and all that kind of stuff. So aren't we looking at this based on the section 847.012 that says taken as a whole, the material is without serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value for minors? And that if we were going to, I guess, remove this or whatever, would it not have to meet all of those criteria? Or it would have to, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to clarify why did they word this like number 9 like that? Because in like tons of books, you would find profanity and crude language and violence and stuff, but aren't we supposed to be looking at the book as a whole? And even though it has that in there, do we feel like it has serious literary value to students in high school in our district?
Right. And I think that's why, you know, we do have a lot of questions that kind of weigh into the final recommendation. And I just want to, on the guides, on number 5 specifically, for a high school book, it can contain profanity, but not pervasive use of racial slurs or crude. Pervasive is specifically placed there because that means, you know, basically throughout. So these are guides, and we, you know, at the bottom it references that our media specialists will use professional judgment with their collection development, because we do know that when high school students go into library, it's a self-select situation. So really, I think for the purposes of this committee, we realize there are going to be different viewpoints, and we are 7 people that are making a recommendation to superintendent, and then he will make a decision, and you know that will apply throughout the district. So I think some people, you know, my understanding is some people really look at a book holistically, cover to cover, and others see certain elements in a book and just believe that that's enough to take it out. So it's a personal judgment on that. Only thing I would reference is on our guide, we were careful that word of pervasive. You know, basically it means, you know, if you're just randomly flipping through the book, you're just constantly coming across. And if it says graphic, just naming an act, it is not necessarily the same thing as a graphic description of an act. So just something else to keep in mind. Okay, any other discussion on number 9? Okay, so what we are going to capture is that we do have, oh, do I have a hand up? Laura, go ahead.
Sorry, you used the word pervasive, and I would definitely say that the crude language and profanity was pervasive.
Okay.
But I would like to address what she said about the book as a whole.
Okay.
And reiterate, it is a really good book. But based on what you've given us as a whole, I mean, when I look through this, at least on number 9, there is more checked than not checked. And it is a book about hope and coming together, and it is. But these things are pervasive, and there's a lot of videotaping. People are recording each other, and I mean, that's the bottom line thread throughout it, is they come at the end, there's this whole video that they've put together, two different ones of, and I think that that's an actual problem we have in school, of the kids videotaping things. And I don't know if that would be, I don't know. I don't want to encourage anything that doesn't need to be there. You know, I mean, they could just as easily read this when they're 19. So, all right, I'm done.
Okay. Okay. So it looks like Jocelyn had to switch to the phone. So I guess my people in the background are keeping track of that. Okay, so for question number 9, in summary, there was an acknowledgement of profanity, crude language, and violence and sexual behavior in the book. There was a concern about younger high school students and whether this is appropriate, and actually a recommendation that consider possibly only 11th grade and up. There were some examples of the graphic nature of some of the violence. Overall, it's a good book. It's just, the question is whether it's better to wait to read it after you get out of high school. Okay, Amanda, go ahead.
So as far as waiting to read it until out of high school, I completely agree with that. You know, as far as putting it in a public library, totally fine, but I don't see the need or the value for it in a school, like a public school library.
Okay, so we have support for waiting. Good book, just not for high school. Okay, anything else on question number 9?
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, I had my hand up, but I'm just gonna say I completely feel the opposite. I feel like it should be in the school library in high school. There are so many students that I feel could benefit from it. And for us to say that we could determine that, I don't feel comfortable doing that. I mean, if someone doesn't want, again, their child to read it, then they feel free to opt their child out of that.
Okay.
But I feel like the benefits to someone reading that book far outweigh us pulling the book, and then a student that could benefit from that not having it. And not all of our students are able to buy a book or even go to the public library and get the book. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay. So I've added to the comments that there are high school students who would benefit from having access to this book. Laura, did you have something to add?
I just would like to know what those benefits are. I mean, I'm very open to hearing them, but I would like to know what she's referring to.
And I'll be happy to answer that.
Okay.
My children have had many instances in school where they have felt marginalized, or they have felt bullied over a certain thing, or they see other students who have been bullied or offensive language said to them. And so I wouldn't have a problem if my child asked me to read this book and then there was a discussion on it, or if another student wanted to read this book. Maybe they're contemplating something, maybe they are feeling you know, outcast, or maybe they've had someone bully them over weight issues, maybe the opposite, side of him. In this character, he's overweight and huge and is called Neanderthal. And so for that person to relate to that and be able to say, hey, it's okay, I'm going to get through this, or, high school is what it is, and I shouldn't necessarily feel this way, or whatever it is. I can't say for sure, but I know that my children have come to me and asked me to read certain books, and this was when they were in elementary school. So, and I had to read it first. That's my, my parenting style, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. And mine are 15, so I wouldn't have been opposed to it if they had asked me to read this last year. If they wanted to read it this year.
Okay.
And so I don't feel like I can speak for every parent out there. And again, if you don't want your child to read it, that's your option to opt them out of that book from the library and they can't check it out. But I don't feel limiting it and not having it available to someone, other family who maybe their parent would love it if they read that book. I don't feel like it's my place to remove it from the library.
Okay.
And
So-
I don't find it particularly offensive in a holistic approach to looking at the book.
Okay, so I think in reference to how high school students will benefit, students who have been bullied or marginalized, they may be able to see this themselves in this book, and it could be helpful to them. Okay, we only have just a few more minutes. I'd like to try to complete our work if we can get there. So we are at the point where we need to make a recommendation. So just looking at the way we looked at suitability for the book, it sounds like we are, if we're going to retain the book, most of you were in favor of 9 through 12. We did have a few people in favor of 11 and up. So I just need a recommendation on, for voting purposes, do we want to start with 9? How about let's just do this. We'll start with 9 through 12. So if you would be in favor of retaining the material in the collection for grades 9 through 12, if you can give a green. I'm also going to give, just so you'll know, I'm going to give the option for 9 through 12, 11 and 12, 11 and up, or remove. Those are going to be our 3 options. So the first one is retain the material for grades 9 through 12.
Can you mark me as a yes, because I'm driving?
Okay, yes. And this is
Thank
Jocelyn?
Yes, Jocelyn.
Okay, so that would be 3 green checks, 4, 5. 5 yeses for 9 through 12. Okay, we'll clear.
Wasn't that 6? Because did you mark Jocelyn? I saw
I thought
6.
I did. Cindy, Chris, Stacy.
Oh, I thought Tracy or someone else had it. Yeah. Okay.
Now with Jocelyn, I think it was 5.
Chris wasn't he a green?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Did I miss somebody? And maybe I can't see everybody on my screen.
So
We
I
have yeses. We have yeses for Chris, Stacy, Cindy, Tracy, Leanna, and Jocelyn.
Okay, so that would be 6 for 9 through 12. Okay, is there anyone, so we can clear those. Is there anyone who would be in favor of 11 and up? We have 1 in favor of 11 and up. And then 2 in favor of 11 and up.
I'm sorry, Ms. Sapp, I'm just going to interrupt here. I think, are you asking people to vote again? Because
I see.
Chris voted already. So are
Right,
you
right.
asking in lieu of your original?
I was hoping that everyone could pick just 1. So let's try this again. If you are in favor of retain this book in the collection for grades 9 and up, hit the green arrow. Plus Jocelyn. So we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 in favor of 9 through 12. Okay, so if everybody will clear their screen. Okay, and then is there anyone who is in favor of reducing that to just 11 and 12? Okay, I see 1 in favor of 11 and 12. And then we can clear the screen. Is there anyone in favor of removing it from St. Johns County School District libraries? We have 1, 2. So it looks like we do have someone who could live with either 11 and 12 or removal. So I understand that. Okay, so it looks like, basically by vote of the committee, the majority, the recommendation is to retain for grades 9 through 12, but we will include the other votes as well. So Mr. Forson will just see everything. Any overall comments? I have the comments from the rest of the questions, which we will provide all of that to Mr. Forson. Are there any closing comments that anyone would like included? Okay, well, I appreciate very much everyone's participation today. Appreciate your honesty and your respect. And just a quick reminder that we will provide a copy of our recommendation at 40 Orange Street, and we'd like everyone to stop by.
Ms. Sapp,
Yes,
in the chat, Cindy said she has a clerical question.
clerical question. Okay, Cindy.
That's just kind of what I was going to ask, because I know at one point you said we had to come and do we need to bring our own paper that we filled out, or do we just sign the one that you have summarized and everything?
If you used a form to kind of guide yourself, we need you to bring your, because it's considered a public record. So we need you to bring your copy, but then we will ask you to sign off on the committee recommendation, which will be one copy that goes to Mr. Forson.
Okay.
And we'd like everyone to try to take care of that this week. So it should be available by 9 a.m. tomorrow morning for signature, and it will be there until Friday at 5. And again, thank you very much. And this concludes our meeting.